Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So here we are with the reactionary Republicans led by their vanguard, the Tea Party fanatics, the dupes of the Koch brothers AstroTurf, the cokeheads or Kochheads, as we can call them. That's the Tea Party, and the Wall Street Democrats led by Obama. Suppose now in this election, Harry Reid and Pelosi are knocked off. This now seems to be quite possible, even likely. And they're replaced by Angel, Miller, and God knows who else, maybe Tancredo. You can see how the political dynamic will shift in that case, and the horrors and the revulsion and the consternation will be directed increasingly towards these extreme reactionary and indeed proto-fascist figures in many ways. Let's not forget the Garden State Goering, the fat Reichsmarschall in Trenton, Christie, who is now beating up women, apparently. He threw the woman head of the New Jersey Teachers Union out of his office. Gutter snipes, hooligans, thugs, that's what you're seeing. Remember, then, the question always is, why would finance capitalists and Wall Street tycoons of the type of David Koch, why would they ever allow gutter snipes, marginal figures like Sharon Engel, to come forward and take a place in the august corridors of the Senate? That's because in the crisis, this is what they have to turn to, because the usual hack politician is not capable of making an appeal to an electorate which is radicalized by world economic depression. In particular, we're going to talk in one of our segments coming up, the Weimarization of the United States. This last election now, this process that we're still in, has shown a tremendous array of parallels and close relations with Germany of the late 1920s, early 1930s. In particular, the collapse of the bourgeois center. It's one of the truisms that the bourgeois center parties, the German Democratic Party, the German People's Party of Stresemann, and others, go back and take a look. You'll see that the communists grow, the Nazis grow, social democrats stay about where they were, and all the non-working class, non-fanatical parties in the middle are simply gutted, and they go away. So that's the decline of the centrists, right? We'll have very few liberal Republicans, we'll have very few blue dog Democrats. This creates advantages and disadvantages. But now the horror show switches to that face of Engel, that battle axe, and how her face will interfere with the functioning of timepieces all over the world. Now, if we look a little bit more specifically, right now the Democrats have 255 seats in the House. The Republicans have 178. In order to have a majority, you've got to get to 218. Therefore, if the Republicans get 39 seats, they get a narrow one-vote majority. Suppose the Republicans get 50 seats, they have an 11-vote majority. Let's suppose they get 60 seats, they have a 20-vote majority. Now, you can see the Democrats today have a majority, which if you do the adding and subtracting, the Republicans would need 39 seats to take over. But right now, the Democrats have 87 more seats, so they have 87 vote majority. The Republicans, I think on all the scenarios that I can see, will have a paper-thin and therefore unstable majority. Now, everything will depend on the ability of Congressman Boehner or Berner or Boner or whatever he calls himself, this character, the tan man, the John of Orange, whatever it is, the guy who spends his time on golf courses and he slaps on the man tan every morning. This figure is not likely to be able to command the loyalty of extremist gutter snipes such as Finian or whatever his name is here in Northern Virginia running against Connolly. So I would think that remember under Newt Gingrich, the Republican caucus was a nest of intrigue. There were coup plots all the time. There were palace revolts. There were putches planned, executed, and eventually Gingrich fell within 3 years, 4 years at the most. He was out of there at the end of 1998 in the midst of the impeachment crisis, which he himself had created. And then his successor from Louisiana was knocked out by Larry Flynt by bringing up stories of adultery and so forth when that was the leading issue, and that was enough to get rid of the planned successor of Newt as Speaker of the House. So I think we're going into an area that I would begin to call the continuous referendum. In other words, the House of Representatives reflecting a very evenly divided electorate, about 50-50 when you get through with it, right? Once we've had the Obama hysteria corrected with the repudiation of the Obama hysteria, then you come out with a small Republican majority, and ultimately I think the tendency of that will be to gravitate back to 50-50 or thereabouts as the horrible face and the brutal reactionary Dickensian proposals of these Republicans, Tea Party fanatics, come out. Remember, the time right after the 1994 election, I'm thinking of the Newsweek cover that showed Newt Gingrich as Scrooge because he wanted to put orphan children into orphanages. He wanted to abolish foster parenting and adoption and so forth. Very, very strange sort of 19th century stuff. And, of course, today we have the Tea Party, people who don't even like the 19th century. They want the 18th century. Well, sorry, boys, can't live in the 18th century, can't live in the 19th century. It's the 21st. Deal with it. You've got to deal with China. And if you can't, the Chinese, the Indians, others who don't wish you well necessarily will be laughing. Now, what are the possibilities of gridlock? Well, gridlock has dangers. Nothing gets done. On the other hand, it is the possibility of discrediting the existing political forces and perhaps fostering a situation where the existing parties might break up. That is to say, if Boehner and McConnell don't deliver what these Tea Party fanatics want, there's some possibility that they might strike out in some independent direction. I don't think so, though, because this is all now totally astroturfed. More likely, there might be a left separation out of the Democratic Party, because the question then be, what's the lesson of the vote? Huge losses under Obama. The obvious lesson is dump Obama. Get rid of Obama and don't replace him with the Wall Street puppet. Unfortunately, we have signs that the wrong definition is response is being drawn. In other words, the Democrats should learn from this. Fight Wall Street and you'll do fine. Become a stooge of Wall Street and you will collapse because your internal dynamics are different than the Republicans. The Republicans can get along for quite a while as stooges of Wall Street. You can't. Wall Street Journal, Thursday, October 28th. Foes plan post-vote deals. Conservative tax spending compromises as GOP win looms. More details in a minute on World Crisis Radio.